and welcome back to the Otaku Network podcast. I'm Steve.
And I'm David.
We are into week 2 of the spring season 2024. We're going to talk about the many sides of voice actor radio, Remonster, and Astro Note, all of the second episodes of these shows. So in episode 2 of the many sides of voice actor radio, we have the two girls continuing with their radio program. There's a segment at the beginning of the show where Yumiko mentions getting croquettes at a butcher shop, and Chika doesn't think she can buy croquettes at a butcher shop. There is a little bit of playful
banter between the two, where Chika keeps insisting, like, you can't get croquettes. But then Yumiko's like, yes, you can. I go there all the time and get these croquettes.
Yeah. The writer was agreeing with it, and Chika gets upset, thinking that they're picking on her. So then Chika and Yumiko later go out, and Yumiko shows her that you can get croquettes at a butcher shop. And this was used as a way to show a little bit more companionship between the two.
Yep.
After that, Yumiko is meeting with her manager, and her manager tells her that she was selected for one of the sub-lead roles for an anime that's coming up where the three main characters are sisters. The lead character is being performed by a more veteran voice actor, this woman named Otome, who Yumiko has worked with in the past. So Yumiko is quite excited about that prospect. Then Yumiko finds out that the third sister is going to be voiced by Chika. So she starts questioning whether her own abilities are what got her the role, as opposed to her past with the woman Otome, or with the current work that she's doing with Chika. So she's got some imposter syndrome that's seeping into her.
Yes, it does go away pretty fast, though. She does kind of talk about it with Chika at some point when they're in their dressing room. Later, but we'll get to that when we get to that point.
Well, there's the point where they go into the initial recording, and Yumiko sits at the far end of the
yeah, that's right,
of the sofa, and Chika's like, "What are you doing? Why are you sitting over there? You should be in the middle because you're one of the main. You have a lot of lines."
Yeah, because she makes the point about being like, "Oh, that's for people with a bunch of lines," and Chika's like, "You idiot! You have a bunch of lines."
Yeah, we get introduced to Otome at this point, and Yumiko notices that Otome looks ragged. It's kind of worn down.
Mm-hmm.
She's been working a lot, pushing herself, so we're doing a little bit of foreshadowing for stuff that happens later in the episode. They do the recording session. Chika makes a statement about the quality of work. Mm-hmm. And Yumiko's like, yeah, Otome's a professional. I really hope to be like her. And Chika's like, no, I was actually talking about you. So we get a little bit of an ooh moment.
And then I like that Yumiko's like, wait, can you repeat that? And she's like, never again in my life will I say that.
Yeah. Part of the voice actor gig is the three girls also are performing the opening theme song. So they're kind of creating an ad hoc pop group to help promote it.
Right.
Three girls have this routine that they work through, and they go to do the first public performance to build up hype for everything. During the practice run, Otome, who is just
zonked.
Yeah, well beyond exhaustion, stumbles and kind of sprains her ankle. So they go through this quick moment of, what are we going to do? And Otome's like, I'll sit out. You guys rock it. Yumiko and Chika kind of do the whole dance routine, and we save the day.
Sort of.
Well, sure. I mean, they succeeded. The crowd was happy with the event, even though, Otome had to apologize for backing out because of circumstances. And then the other two girls picked up the slack and carried on.
Right. The girls were making the comments, or talking about how people were making the comments about like, oh, Otome wasn't here. They felt that their performance was undermined by the lack of Otome being on stage as well.
Yeah. So then we get to the closeout where the two girls who in the beginning of the first episode are aggressive against each other have now formed this alliance to work together to improve themselves within their career path.
Right.
And that's where the episode ends.
Yeah, it was an interesting episode in the sense that there was this like build up to the filming of the anime and then their own concert to perform the opening for the anime. And there's a lot of build, and then I felt like only a little tiny bit of payoff at the end of that episode. Granted, it's a whole season that we're gonna get, but I feel like a lot of animes do have a decent payoff at the end of every episode. And this episode was just kind of, yay, you guys did it.
the hook of the show is that they're two polar opposites. And so you're looking for how their completely different personalities are going to intermingle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the end of episode 2, we have them working together like as a cohesive unit.
Yeah, it was really fast.
Yeah, we got rid of, or on the surface, it looks like we got rid of the combat.
I feel like they're gonna throw the contention in either this next episode or the episode after, just because already having plot resolution in episode 2, a good anime does not make.
Correct. I know the English title includes the words "the many sides of voice actor radio," but we're not really seeing a lot of the actual radio version of it.
Correct.
Like, we're seeing very little of it.
Yes.
But many sides, I guess.
But I mean, the anime is technically voice acting, so that is a side of voice acting. Granted, radio is in the title. I don't know where this potentially could continue to go.
Yeah.
At this moment in time. Who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us with episode 3 and be like, here's more contention and plot, and we're just like, cool.
The pacing of the show is really fast.
It is very fast.
We don't know the time frame that we have traveled since the first episode, but we've obviously gone multiple weeks, I would assume.
Yes.
Because the things that have happened take time to set up and build it, like especially them practicing their entire dance routine.
What
That's
do you
gonna
mean?
take time.
You can't learn a dance routine in a night?
In a night? No. So, sidebar, do you know, so at J-pop concerts, do you know why there are different colored glow sticks?
Well, little pea brain that has like no reference for J-pop at all. Was it to represent each of the girls?
Yes. So in idol groups, the different girls will have colors associated with them.
Yeah, and I had noticed that.
And their fans will wave. One of the things to like bolster their support for that particular member of the group, the glow sticks are like their kind of rally cry.
Okay. That now makes so much sense for another anime I've watched.
I think, or I guess a bit of housekeeping in regards to this series. I think from here on out, instead of calling it the many sides of voice actors radio, which is too mouthy, we'll just call it Seiyuu Radio.
Sounds like a plan. Is
it just me? Did the artwork really go downhill, at least in the beginning of this episode?
Yes, it did.
Oh my God.
It drastically dropped. There was a huge, significant decrease in the artwork, especially the background.
Yeah.
And the quality of like the croquettes, weird.
Correct.
Very inconsistent.
The backgrounds are very devoid of anything.
Yeah, there's nothing moving in the background.
No, there's no patterns.
No, it's literally just a drawing.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yes.
Nothing's moving. There may be a bird that flies by occasionally.
I don't think I brought this up in the first week. I really dislike the way the main characters' heads are drawn in profile, where they essentially have muzzles.
Yeah.
With how far back, like at the nose, it just slopes back into their eyes, and then the hair, they don't draw foreheads on them. So their faces in profile look like a lowercase b.
That's so true.
It bothers the shit out of me. The character artwork picked up later in the episode.
Yeah, especially during the concert.
Because I picked up the artwork immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I was paying attention. I was trying to analyze it.
Yeah.
And when they cut to the concert part and they don't show them dancing, they just show them like trying to regain their breath. I'm like, wow, way to like cut out anything and not have to animate this like high motion thing. You guys are really cutting the corner. When they showed the real thing, then yes, there was some dancing.
Yeah.
Wasn't anything like you'd find in Oshinoko, but hey.
Yeah, no, it was not as spectacular as Oshinoko.
No, but at least they actually showed something.
Right. They seem to be cutting corners on really intensely animated sections.
Yes. The budget for the animation for the show must be abysmal.
Who produces this?
The animation studio that is doing Seiyuu Radio is a studio called Connect. Let's see.
I've never heard of them before.
They've been around for 12 years. Let's see what else they've done.
Which, if they've been around for 12 years, it's surprising they're cutting so many corners. They must have had an abysmal budget for this.
The first series they worked on was Strike the Blood.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Death March of the Parallel World Rhapsody. Slow Loop. Ayakashi Triangle. Yeah, I haven't seen any of these other ones. I know a lot of them. I just haven't watched any. Ang Verge.
Maybe we'll have to do some additional research into some of these series to see if their animation quality is abysmal across the board, or if it's just this anime where they're just like, let's cut all the corners.
I mean, it's not Go Hands.
Episode 2 of Re-Monsters. Oh boy, this episode had a lot. After our initial complaints from last week, they took my fears and got rid of them already. The initial episode opens up with all of the women that were trapped commit suicide. After that, the raiding party that was talked about by old Grandpa Goblin now show back up with spoils and more women and just a bunch of supplies that they had raided from surrounding either villages or trade routes, things like that. And our first big contention point showed up when the leader of this group decided to challenge Gobro to one-on-one combat for ultimate rule over these goblins. And that's where we see a lot of Gobro's like broken now superpowers that he's basically gotten from eating all of this stuff that he's been slowly eating over the last, like, what, we got up to day 36 at the end of this episode?
The episode begins, if I remember correctly, it was day 28.
Yeah, like day 28. So almost a month has gone by of him being in this world, and he's gained so many different abilities and so many levels that he handily wins against this guy and now becomes the undisputed leader of the goblins. And then that progresses on. He talks with the women, basically assuring them that they're safe because he does not like the idea of forcing themselves on these women. And then other just shonen shenanigans of more leveling, more fighting. And then
he kind of tucks away the women, the human women, while he figures out what he can do with them. But he wants to leave. He wants to keep them protected. So he tells everybody nobody can touch them. He doesn't want to touch them, and he's trying to show kindness to them.
He does promise that he will eventually find a way to get them back to their village.
Yep. He comes to them. He's like, I'm doing this because I want to learn things from you about your world. There was a moment where the defeated leader of the goblins, they're hobgoblins at this point, right?
Yes,
yeah.
He is a hobgoblin.
So the defeated leader of the goblins gets a couple of his cronies, and he decides to hell with this new kid's orders. Yeah. We're gonna have our way with the women. Gobro, having his extrasensory perception abilities, puts that to an end and beats him to death and uses him as an example of disobeying his rule. Gobro twice in the episode did the classic what you should do on the first day of prison.
Yeah. Pick the biggest guy, beat the living shit out of him, make yourself in charge.
Yeah. And then he had to still prove the point and beat the dude up again. This time, kill him.
And this has earned him many respect. And as you guys can see by the title card this week, he has earned a little bit of attention from both this human woman and his fangirl that we talked about last week, Gobmi, and this human woman who he assumes is probably like a warrior in training. Both are very thankful for his help, and he ends up creating divisions of his goblins where there's like the light fighters, there's the ranged fighters, there's the tanks. He has a single magic user that he's hoping that he can get more of, and ultimately has now started formulating this legitimate like combat force of the goblins that are left. And then towards the end of the episode, he goes out on his own to try and find this mythical beast that was warned to him by the older goblin.
He didn't set out specifically to find it. He recalled the warning.
That's true. He was wandering and recalled it.
Yeah. So he was looking for more abilities. Particularly, I think he was trying to find some stuff that would give him magical abilities.
Yes.
As he showed, he has at least one spell in his repertoire.
Right. And he uses that spell to try to F up that bear.
Yeah. So,
and it doesn't.
No. He decides to test his abilities and goes where he was warned by Grandpa not to go, almost loses his life for it. I mean, he gets messed up.
He does get messed up. He loses his arm.
That bear loses its arm too.
The bear loses its arm. He gets gored by
the claws.
Yeah, it's like he's impaled by it. The only reason he wins is because he decapitated the thing with I think it was his pole arm.
But he also had 2 layers of regeneration, I think, at this point.
Yes, but I think he was making a point that he wasn't gonna make it.
Oh yeah, no, he figured he might die,
but he was lucky and got Deus Ex Machina'd into a rare evolution of becoming an ogre.
He got plot armored.
That was such Deus Ex Machina. It was kind of irritating that he was just like, you have no consequences.
Right. It's only episode 2. We know he's not going to die. From the viewer's standpoint, there's no danger. There's no threat.
Fair, but he got isekai'd once. What's stopping him from being isekai'd again? Just start over as a new baby goblin.
Yeah, no, then we have to recreate an entirely different set of world rules. No, the fight with the bear was fine. But in the back of my head, obviously realizing that he's going to survive it, I was wondering what he was going to lose. And he didn't lose anything.
Yeah, he lost absolutely nothing.
No, he gained. All he did was gain. And
Yep.
that's all he does is gain.
Yeah, he has serious plot armor.
When the human crawled into bed with him, the first thing I thought of was, why didn't he notice her crawling into bed?
Yeah,
He has this...
he has his search abilities.
Yeah, and he like groggily wakes up and she's there. Yeah, okay. So
He did make a comment that he knew that she crawled into bed with him. It was Gobme that he didn't realize crawled into bed.
correct. But the fact that he didn't even get up and see what was going on
Fair.
when she approached.
Fair. But like,
Yeah.
stay consistent with your rules.
Correct.
This one's kind of disappointing. I definitely think the artwork of this episode, as opposed to Radio, severely increased. Like, the fight quality, in my opinion, was really good. His combat with the bear,
The combat with the bear was good.
it was very cool. Like, a lot of like flaming fire effects.
Yes.
The animation of like actually physically showing burnt skin.
Yes.
They paid a lot of attention to the detail of what was happening between the two. Throughout the rest of that fight, you could tell that that bear had a sword in its mouth. Even when it tried to like close its mouth, you could see it couldn't close its mouth all the way.
Yeah.
Very, very consistent. I've seen animes where like somebody will get like hit with an arrow. Like if the first episode of Vinland Saga, he'll get hit with an arrow and then it just magically disappears. And then he suffers no consequences from it.
It's like when characters instantly dry off after being soaking wet.
Yes, that fight scene really had just great animation to it that I was really happy to see that level of care in the combat where it mattered, basically.
Sure. Absolutely. The fight scene was good.
Yeah, as opposed to Radio's animation, this one I feel had good attention to the animation when it was important.
Yes.
Because like I'm okay with cutting corners when it's not important,
Sure.
but scenes where you're like, this is telling a portion of the story.
Or, I mean, it's the money shot.
Yeah, like the money shot or the title card for the,
Yeah.
title card for the episode.
The promo material.
Yeah, you want that level of animation to be way higher.
Yep.
And I feel like they definitely did that this week.
Before we get into this week's episode of Astro Note, I realized when I was editing the first episode that we went from bemoaning the quality of slice of life anime versus shonen and directly moved into praising the artwork of Astro Note, which is a slice of life anime.
We just so happened to pick the one slice of life where it's like, hey, you two are actually wrong.
The artwork is great. So this episode, we learn a lot more about what this key is. The key that Mira is looking for. It is an object that will give whoever has it the right to claim the throne of her people. We find out her father is dead, her mother is alive, and she's corresponding with her mother. She's writing home like she's from summer camp to her mother.
Right. She's very much treating like being on Earth like it's a summer camp too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The old man, Sochika, tells her about the previous manager, who had been the manager for a really long time, tells her that he planted this plum tree in the garden. Certain things with the conversation make Mira think the previous manager of Astro Lodge may be one of her people, which makes her think that the key may have something to do with the tree.
It really does help when Takumi makes that florography reference about how the plum flower means to like keep a promise.
Yeah.
And that's what really keys her into the fact that this old manager is probably one of her species. And she then like sets through all the records that she has in her room about the previous manager.
Yep.
And ends up finding that picture of him in front of this plum tree. And that's what ultimately leads to Takumi's thing. And there's the weird robot bird thing.
Before we get into that, a thing I forgot to bring up last week was Mira's last name.
Yes.
So Mira's last name is Gotokuji. So I looked it up before the first episode came out, and she directly lifted her name from a relatively well-known temple in Western Tokyo that is known for its collection of beckoning cats. Without any prompting, we are given this hint as Takumi ends up at the temple.
At the temple, and his out of this world prayer of just everything that he wants Mira to be happy, then wants himself to be happy, then wants to date Mira, and then realizes he's talking like he's a little kid, and then is like, hey, can I go to first base with her? And you're just like, oh, dude.
Then he tries to save face by just asking for world peace.
Yeah.
We know she lifted her name from this temple And we know that the story takes place in the western Tokyo suburb of Setagaya.
Yep, right near Shibuya.
Yep. Well, a bit, yeah.
It's
close enough.
In frame of reference, it is very close to like Shibuya and all the very popular portions of Tokyo.
It's probably a couple of train stops. But yes.
Yes, but I mean, in a city as big as Tokyo,
Yes.
that's very close.
Correct.
I have a feeling that we'll probably have part of an episode where they go to Shibuya.
Probably not, because they're not kids. Well, we don't know how old Mira is.
We don't know how old Mira is, but a lot of slice of life lately use like Shibuya as like a date location.
Sure, it's the trendy spot.
Yeah, it's super trendy. Tons of adults
Yes.
in now modern Japan go to Shibuya for dates or meetups or whatever. And I would assume that Takumi's probably like just post college age, maybe.
I think he's 25.
It's so
I think
like that time frame where they would
Yes.
probably go there for
Sure.
like a date.
So while he's out, Mira is, again, renewed searching through the house. While she's doing that, there is a transforming Roomba that is doing its own searching throughout the house stealthily.
That started as a pelican.
Yes, it started as a bird of sorts, and then it changed into a Roomba for more maneuverability.
I want to bring up its transformation really quick.
Okay.
Because it really, really reminded me of the scene in The Boy and the Heron, where the heron transforms into that guy.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh God, it looks so much like that scene. And then it turned into a room. I'm like, okay, this has thrown me off. This has super thrown me off. But it immediately made me think of The Boy and the Heron.
Sure. And there's a good chance that it was animated after The Boy and the Heron came out in Japan.
Probably.
So there may have been a little bit of inspiration from that. The boy, the son of the deadbeat guy, his name is Ren, he finds the Roomba first. He and the old man start chasing. While they're chasing it, Takumi comes back, talks with Mira, and this is when he brings to her the idea of what the plum tree represents.
Right.
And they start talking about all of the plum wine that's in the basement. So they go down to the basement, Takumi following Mira.
She starts sprinting to the basement.
Yeah, she starts trying to search in there for anything.
Right.
While they're searching, Ren trashes the Roomba.
Yep. And it causes basically an EMP-like effect that blows out all the power of the lounge.
Yeah, it blows the breaker. There's a door to the storage space where the plum wine is that has this elaborate locking mechanism.
Yeah.
The door closes
wild
and locks and traps the two lovebirds in there, or the two objects of affection.
The lovebird and friend.
Correct. What we also didn't mention is that the dog Naosuke also knows that the Roomba is there, and he knows what it is. Mentioning something about it being related to
the term for a husband.
Well, something like suitors.
Yeah.
So what it made me think of is it made me think of the situation of who is the main character in the Odyssey?
Odysseus.
Oh yeah. It reminded me of the situation that Odysseus's wife found herself in, with all the suitors that kept trying to take her hand when he was gone, lost in the Aegean Sea.
That's the huge point of the Odyssey.
Yeah. Mira and Takumi decide to make the best of their situation and start sampling the plum wine. Mira becomes instantly trashed.
She gets so intoxicated.
She passes out, head in lap.
And he panics.
He panics. Power gets restored.
Yeah.
Naosuke, the dog, shows up right as the door opens up to catch Takumi and Mira in a compromising position and proceeds to
assault Takumi.
Work him over.
Assault him.
Yeah. Mira sleeps off her hangover. Takumi brings her some medicine and some food to try to help her. Maybe she's never been drunk before.
And he very specifically brings her the food that she requested while she was like about to pass out.
Yes. Yeah. Rice.
She wanted rice and beans.
Rice and beans. Yes. Because there was a very touching moment where they're talking about, dishes to make and stuff like that.
Super important that he brings her the food that she requested.
We get a lot of setup for them growing closer.
Yes.
But that gets crushed at the end of the episode when we have the appearance of a strange, caped, bombastic individual,
Shoin Ginger,
who comes right out and says, "I'm Mira's fiance," and the way she gloms onto him doesn't make us question his statement.
Exactly.
Well, Takumi was just about to cuddle up with her to watch a movie that she was really interested in. Apparently, the man she's destined to marry shows up and changes everything.
Like a caped crusader.
Absolutely. And that's where the episode ends.
This episode was very entertaining to watch. Again, very funny, very entertaining. There's nothing really about this episode that I found to be negative plot-wise. There's a lot of hijinks and antics, especially with that old lady that was like talking Takumi's ear off.
Yeah, we didn't bring up the neighborhood Obasan, essentially.
Yeah, she basically finds Takumi out shopping again. Is like, oh, where's Mira? And then like goes on about how she's brought candy into her bag and how she's brought a tradition from Osaka to Tokyo.
Yeah. She was very ADD in her delivery.
God.
She kept changing focus and would not stop. And he was doing whatever he could to get away from her.
And then, yeah, that's when he gets to the temple and is just like, wow, talking to that old bat was exhausting.
The story is moving really fast.
It's moving very fast.
It's moving really fast. That's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
And when you think about it, we probably only have 13 episodes. There's probably only...
Realistically, yes.
Yeah. So they've got a lot that they need to jam in.
There was a good point that I had jotted down in my notes. There's a very nice reversal of the drug scene that you were talking about from...
from Mason Yukoku.
Yes. Instead of being loud and him being drunk,
yes,
it was her very quiet and she just, passes out into his lap.
Yeah.
Like,
she was mumbling.
Yeah, it was very much I thought it was like a really good contrast of not like completely just taking Mason Yukoku and we're just recreating this, but with aliens. Taking that idea and flipping it, I thought was a good way to still pay homage to it, but do something else.
This episode made it apparent that the storytelling episode-based may be the classic American style of A plot and B plot, because we had two plots that weren't necessarily connected that were being scattered throughout the episode.
Yeah.
With the subdued, intimate moments between Takumi and Mira, we have the madcap, frantic moments. The robot regains its senses and they start chasing again, and Naosuke at one point pulls out a blaster and starts shooting it as it's fleeing the house.
And doesn't one of the renters see Naosuke like running on his hind legs?
Ren sees him standing
That's it, Ren
up.
was.
Yes. Ren sees him standing up. Naosuke, we'll see how long Naosuke can keep his cover and who he can continue to keep it from.
I think if out of anyone seeing him, Ren would probably be the best, because he's like, what, 9, 10-ish?
Yeah.
Like kids that age make up wild stories.
Yeah, nobody believes children.
Exactly. And that's the point that I'm sure that they're probably going to ram home, is that like, he's a kid, we can't believe him.
Yes.
And until somebody like Teruko or Sochika see this, I think they'll just kind of keep it under the radar, like, oh, it's just a dumb kid, he's making up stories.
Yes. So next episode, we have to deal with the fallout of
Shoin Ginger.
Shoin Ginger.
I love that name. It's probably my favorite character name ever.
It's like he came out of an episode of...
He's from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, it's like he came from JoJo's.
That man is in the wrong anime.
Maybe. Mira's weird herself. That may just be that race of people.
Maybe. Who knows?
Or, they're royalty too, so royalty is always going to be eccentric.
Fair. But no, he straight up walked out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I think I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do.
Yes.
In the next couple of episodes.
Yes. All right. And with that, we have, final thoughts.
The quality of Remonster and Astro Note, in the sense of either artwork or character development or a mix of those, they have both improved, in my opinion.
Yes.
From episode 1 to episode 2.
Yes.
I do feel like Radio has had
It stumbled in the beginning of the episode with its quality.
Yes, it stumbled. It recovered a bit, but I don't think that it's made an overall improvement and is just kind of staying linear in its quality.
I don't think we're going to see an improvement in its quality. I don't think we ever were going to see quality within this anime.
No, and that's kind of sad, because it seemed a genuinely an interesting topic from the description and from when we were talking about it before the season had started.
But now it's pushing us into this territory that we don't know what to expect from it.
It could surprise us.
I mean, because the entire idea, or at least the way I presumed it, is it's really just going to focus on the slowly growing understanding between the two girls.
Yeah.
But now they have this distracted side quest that is really, when it comes to their reality, more important. And the whole reason they're doing this, the whole reason they agreed to do the radio show, was to improve their sellability.
And to make money.
To improve their exposure, to get more work.
Exactly.
I don't know. Maybe
Atome will throw in some contention between the two. Maybe one will see Otome as like something to strive for, and the other will be like, she's dying. We probably shouldn't do this.
Well, both girls respect her and have worked with her.
I'm just hypothesizing.
The whole dying thing, I think, was just the setup for
the twisted ankle.
For the twisted ankle. Yeah. Maybe it'll pan out that the show will be more focused on industry type things instead of the dynamics between the two girls.
I wonder if they'll explore like exploitive voice acting.
If you want exploitation in the entertainment industry, you just need to watch Oshinoko.
That first episode ruined me.
No, the entire rest of the show is nothing like that first episode. That was all set up.
It ruined me.
Right. So, Remonster, someone spoiled something for the show.
Please don't spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it. I will let you know when it shows up.
Fair.
And you will be like, huh, okay. And Astro Note? Astro Note is the most engaging out of the three of them.
Yes. It is the most captured my attention. I genuinely look forward to watching each episode each week.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like a chore watching it. It's just enjoyable.
Remonster didn't really feel like a chore with this episode either.
Remonster didn't feel like a chore either. It was very entertaining.
Yes. Seiyuu Radio, I spent way too much time on the Croquette.
Yes. God, that was like, what, 10, 15 minutes?
Not 15, but it was at least like, it was probably 8 minutes. Honestly.
And then I didn't even see the point of like the whole, her mom. We totally missed this, but her mom like listening to her radio show.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I think that was to show the rising popularity of what they're doing.
Fair.
Unfortunately, we have no idea what the time scale is of this show. And
right.
It makes certain things
weird,
not impactful in the way that they maybe should be.
Yeah.
The story at this point definitely has definitely gone weeks. I would assume, unless we're in weird land. So they've obviously been doing this show for a little bit. Even in the first episode where they did the thing and then they're doing the live thing.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the next day. That's going to be weeks down the road when the show has built an audience.
What? You don't build an audience overnight?
No.
Looks at podcast.
All right. Thank you again for listening.